All right, so we're going to start today with a refresh of what we did yesterday. So what was the skill we were studying yesterday in class?
Rhymes.
Rhymes. And so we were talking about when you have a pattern of rhymes. Does anybody remember what that's called when you have a pattern of rhymes? Check out your notes from yesterday.
A rhyme scheme?
It is called a rhyme scheme. So in your notes you should have had it, oh, we're not working today? In your notes you should have had it highlighted, circled, or starred, and you should have had a note on there about end rhymes. So we're looking at the pattern of rhymes. Yesterday I had you guys writing A, A, B, C, C, B. Okay? So in this kind of rhyme scheme, which ones were rhyming? Which ones rhymed?
B and B.
A and A.
B and B.
B and B.
C and C.
Okay. So this is really important for us because we're going to be working today with something called a sonnet. And that's a kind of poem. It's the one that you have on your desk already. And in that particular one, you are going to be doing that for homework. So I'd like for you to just put it to the side right now so that I can explain what's going to be going on so you don't have any questions about it when we get to it. All that should be put to the side. All right, so today when we're talking about sonnet, we have to figure out that it's a certain kind of poem. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. Okay, that it's a certain kind of poem, and as you notice on the beginning it says English sonnets. So there are a variety of kinds of sonnets. We are going to be studying English ones because our next unit is Shakespeare. Okay? And this is something that Shakespeare is very famous for. Okay? Don't worry, I'm really good at teaching it. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is what we were mentioning yesterday. Sonnets have a specific rhyme scheme to them. They have a lot of rules that make up a sonnet. In yesterday's poem, this one right here, it didn't rhyme. It didn't have a specific pattern in a stanza. The ones we're going to be reading do. Sonnets have a specific rhyme scheme, a pattern. They have also a certain amount of lines. So we're going to be talking about what that looks like today. So make sure you're on your document that looks like this. Show me your iPad so I can see that everybody's there. You should be on this page of the slides. Okay, good. If you're not there, I should see you getting there. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some rules that we have for sonnets. In order to have a sonnet, you have 3 rules. So we're going to be learning the first one here, this one. First of all, it has 3 quatrains. Now, mine is not working very well to write on. I'm going to have to mess with the tech office.
Well, you don't do color.
What?
Color blue.
It's not that. It's the light here. It's not working. So when you look at the word quatrain, what do you notice about the beginning of that word? What does it sound like?
Four.
4.
Cuatro.
Cuatro. Okay? Or quarter in English. So I'd like for you to circle right here, circle it, and write the number 4 up there. So it says it has 3 quatrains, and that's to help you remember that a quatrain is a stanza with how many lines? 4. Okay? So I'd like for you guys to just quickly look up here. You have this poem from yesterday. Does this poem have any quatrains?
Yes.
Yes, you also have it in your...
Oh, no, one.
It has one.
One.
Aha! Okay, so we see that it has 1. You also have this poem. So, first of all, a line, or a stanza with 4 lines is called a quatrain. Now, in order to have a sonnet, an English sonnet, you need to have how many quatrains? 3, which means you have 4 lines and then 4 lines and then
4 lines.
4 lines. Okay? So you have 3 quatrains. 4 plus 4 plus 4. How many lines is that so far?
4.
Should I call Miss Becker and tell her we need a refresh here? 4 lines plus 4 lines plus 4 lines. How many? 12. But we're not done yet. It also has something called a couplet. What does the word couplet look like to you?
Two.
Couple.
A couple.
It doesn't look like 2, it looks like couple, which means 2. So please circle the word couple in there right now. Circle the word couple. Okay, so our first rule is that we have to have 3 quatrains followed by a couplet. So I'd like for you guys to right down here, draw something for me. And I can't draw in here today, I don't know what's going on yet, but we're going to draw over here. So you're going to follow along. You're going to draw a square, leave yourself plenty of space, draw tiny or zoom in. And you're going to draw 4 lines. What's that called? A stanza with 4 lines. A quatrain. So you're going to label it Q1, because how many quatrains do we have to have?
3.
How many? Look at your mouth.
3.
3. So you're going to draw another box with 3 lines in it. I'm sorry, with 4
But
lines
it
in it.
says 2 lines. Stanza.
Look at the first part.
Oh.
3 quatrains. So we're going to label that one Q2, which stands for quatrain 2. Then we're going to make another box with 4 lines in it, and we're going to label that one Q because it stands for quatrain 3. And then we're going to draw a smaller one with only 2 lines, and what are we going to label it? Couplet. So write the word couplet. We don't need to write couplet 1 because we only have 1. Okay? So how many lines total do we have in a sonnet? 4 plus 4 plus 4
12.
plus 2.
14.
14. So in order for it to be a sonnet, it has 14 lines. Okay? And not just any 14, they have to be in groups. So right now I'd like for you to turn to your neighbors and discuss the first rule of sonnets that we've learned today. What have we discussed that makes up the 14 lines? You have 30 seconds. All right, so let's talk about our second rule. If you're listening, clap twice. Our second rule says it has a traditional rhyme scheme used, which is A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Whoa. What does that mean if it's A, B, A, B? Let's look at it. A, B, A, B. What does that mean? What rhymes?
A and B and B.
A and B and B. So does every line rhyme?
No.
Which ones?
A.
How do you describe that?
The
First and the third, or alternating.
Yeah.
Okay? So every other line rhymes. So these two are going to rhyme. So when we get down to the next quatrain, our next stanza of 4, it's the same pattern. The first one rhymes and the third one rhymes. The second goes with the fourth. But they're not going to be the same exact sound. We call it C, D, C, D. Why?
Because it's
It's a different sound, a different rhyme. So maybe this one's hat and cat, and this one's sit and hit. This one might be long and song. Okay? So you have to think about, it's the first and third or alternating ones, but it changes every time we have a new quatrain. So the last quatrain is E, F, E, F. What's weird about the couplet, though? It doesn't seem to go with the other pattern.
The same because there's 2.
It's the same because there's 2, so it's G, G. So what I'd like for you to do is make sure you zoom in on your drawing of your quatrains, and I'd like for you to label the stanza, label the lines with the rhyme scheme. Label your lines with the rhyme scheme. Zoom in on it so that you can do it. Label your rhymes with the correct rhyme scheme. Is that AA or GG? All right, so now we've got this fixed again. Let's talk about the third rule. If you're listening, do this. Okay. So the third rule is that it has to have 10 syllables. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult because you have to count each one. You have to clap each one or count on your fingers for each
So
one.
it's
Yeah. Oh, I know it's so difficult. So we have 10 syllables. Now, sometimes this is a little bit more difficult to hear if you're a native Spanish speaker because I know sometimes sounds in Spanish count as 1 syllable. For instance, Florencia is 3, right? In English, it's Florencia.
what?
Because every time you have a vowel change in there, it goes to a new syllable.
So like
So,
Patricia. 4.
Yes. In Spanish, Patricia.
No, in Spanish it's Patricia.
Right. In English, it's Patricia. Right. Okay. So we're gonna have to be careful about that. It's mostly with the IA that I hear that in Spanish English difference. Okay. So This is our third rule. So I'm going to ask you guys to look at some, and I'm going to ask you to check your 3 rules. The first rule of this with 3 quatrains. The second rule of, does it have this particular rhyme scheme pattern? Does it have 10 syllables in every line? Okay? So before we begin, I'd like you to find 2 people around the room that you can get up and list all 3 of the rules with. You can do it together. Can you guys get 3? Once you've done that, I will know you're finished because you will come back to your seat.
Okay.
Please stand up. The rules that we have. Okay, list all 3 rules. All 3 rules. 3 people around, or 2 people around the room before you sit.
One thing is the crowd, but another one is the shoulder.
All right, if you're listening, clap twice. Yeah, so we all are listening. If you're listening, clap twice. Okay, so I'd like for you guys on your PowerPoint or your Notability version, please scroll down until you see the poem called The Love Sonnet of Astronaut Arnold. The Love Sonnet of Astronaut Arnold. I'd like for you to scroll down until you find that one. Okay, so this is a love sonnet, and it's about an astronaut who goes to another planet and falls in love with an alien. But my question to you is, does this qualify as a real sonnet? So I'd like for you first to zoom in on this white space right here so that you can write. And I'd like you to make check boxes. Oh, it's doing it again. Okay, I'd like for you to make check boxes, guys. The first check box is going to say a check box, and it's going to say Q1, Q2, Q3, and a C. What does that mean?
First
Quatrain.
Quatrain
2, quatrain 3.
And a
Couplet.
couplet. So first we're going to check for that. Second, I would like for you to write the rhyme scheme. A, B,
C, D,
C, D, C, D,
E, F,
E, F, E, F,
J,
G, G. And your third check box is going to be, what's our
Syllables?
third rule?
10
Syllables?
10 syllables per line. I'm sorry I can't write up here today, guys. I don't know what's happening. So you should have
It's
3
working
check
now.
boxes. 3 check boxes. And before you write in those check boxes, why don't you circle it and copy it so we can use it again in a minute? Okay? So you got your check boxes on there. And those are the 3 things we have to figure out if this works. Okay? So first of all, are we still writing our check boxes?
Yes.
Okay. I'll give you just a
Miss?
second to finish your check boxes.
In English, do you have the thing where...
Okay. So first of all, let's look at our checklist up here. Our checklist first says quatrain 1, quatrain 2, quatrain 3, and a couplet. Looking at this, before we even read it, do you see the quatrains?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and check that one off. We're going to have to look at the words to actually see if they rhyme, and we're going to actually have to look at the words to see if they have the 10 syllables. So let's read it out loud. When I pause, you are going to fill in the blank. So get ready to read along with me. I love a girl and know that she loves
Me.
I love her with a love of steel and... Do you know what that word is?
Yes.
Granite. It's like a kind of rock. I'm sure that she and I would be quite free to wed if she were native to this. I'd hold her hand and feel our love. I'd kiss her lips and feel their soft caress. But all the ways her species shows are based on body parts I don't. Don't tell me I don't love her. That's a... Do you not know the penalty for perjury? Do you know what this is?
No.
When you lie in a court.
Oh.
Okay. Do you not know the penalty for? It's just that to have children, she and would each need quite a bit of plastic.
Surgery.
So board your starship, but you should live daily a desperate fear that you might love in. Okay. So, looking at these rhymes, do we have A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G? Okay, so go ahead and check your box there. The next part is, do we have 10 syllables per line?
Could it be more?
It needs to be 10. Not 9, not 11, not 12. It has to be 10. So your job right now is to get your hands out and ready to clap or ready to count on your fingers. Because I'm going to assign you a quatrain or a couplet to check with your partner. And you're going to put the number of syllables next to each one so you don't forget when it's time to talk about this in groups. So you guys are quatrain number 1. You guys are quatrain number 2. You guys are quatrain number 3. And you guys are the couplet.
Love is
Quatrain 1, 2,
love.
3, and your couplet for the 4th one. Okay, get ready to count right now and list. All right, so let's look at what you guys found. If you're listening to this, okay, let's look at what you found. Who's in charge of quatrain 1? Did you find any lines that were more or less than 10 syllables?
Yes.
You did.
B were 11.
This one had 11, this one will have 11. What about down here? Who had quatrain 2? Did you find any?
Yes.
Which one?
Has 11.
Ah, okay, so I hold her hand and feel our love connection. Okay, and C2, you're saying? So, what about quatrain 3?
And the second one?
F
Yes.
has,
There was 12.
oh, what about the last F?
Also 12.
12. Ooh, and what about your G's?
Both.
So, does it fit? Is it a real sonnet?
No.
No, it doesn't do all 3 of the rules. It says it is, but it's not really a sonnet. Okay? So I'd like for you to get your checklist. If you haven't already copied it, go ahead and copy it, and you can change it in a minute. And we're going to go to another poem. I'd like for you to go to the poem called One Last Example, Writer's Block. Writer's Block. Question.
Miss, can we use the poem we just turned into?
If you think you can make it into a sonnet, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You could try to do
Oh,
that
yes.
and restyle or revamp it.
Yippee!
Okay, so do you have your checklist on the side? Write your checklist on the side. Q1, Q2, Q3, and a couplet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G.
And they're also graded. It's not organized.
What's not organized? Let's look at it and see. So your job right now is to start with your quatrains. Before we even read it, does it have quatrains and couplets in the right amount? Look at it at your table and decide. You guys have 30 seconds. Whether or not you should check that box, decide right now. All right, so I know that yours looks a little bit different than mine. It's because you put it in to notability. What's different on yours than mine?
Lines are sentences, Liz.
The lines are indented because it's squished. So when you have a line that is indented and finishes here, it's meant to say, if your text was smaller, it would still be on that line. So do you have 4 parts, 3 quatrains and 2 couplets?
Yes.
Yes, you do. So go ahead and check your box for the quatrain, couplet. So let's read it together and look and see if we have the right rhyme scheme. Get ready to follow along. When I pause, you will fill it in. I sit and stare at my computer, but not when thought reveals itself to
Me.
I search my mind for some dramatic My mind's as blank as air a mind could
B.
I reach for paper. Will the block then
Break.
as I compose my sonnet now by
Pen.
but pen in hand does not a poem,
Make.
and no ideas come at my
Mind.
so screen or paper neither give me
A.
my creativity has gone
Away.
and I am left bereft and so
Afraid.
that I shall never find the words to
Say.
now with a sigh I put these thoughts in
Ink.
my sonnet's finished. Tell me what you
Think.
okay, so go back and look. Do we
Well,
have
there's one who doesn't
this rhyme
think.
scheme? Does it fit?
Yes.
Did every other one rhyme within each couplet, each quatrain?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and mark.
Afraid, away, say.
Check it. When you figured it out, mark your box or not mark it.
See, but then and make.
Every other one. All right, so we've been able to mark off this one and this one. We have not yet checked 10 syllables. So I'm going to assign you the same quatrain or couplet that you had before. 1, 2, 3, 4. decide right now with your groups whether or not it has 10 syllables. Count them out. All right, so let's go back to our checklist. If you're listening, do this. If you're listening, do this. Okay. So let's go check with quatrain 1.
Yes.
Does it pass?
Yes.
Quatrain 2, does it pass the test?
Yeah.
Quatrain 3?
Yes.
Quatrain 4? Sorry, couplet. So we can check it off. I want to call your attention to a sneaky trick they did. Did anybody besides table 1 who had it notice it?
Depends on what sneaky trick.
Okay, so I want you to zoom in to this word air on quatrain 1. That's a sneaky trick. And it's allowable because it's an old way of doing this. This word is a contraction. Normally when we make a contraction like cannot turns into can't, we're usually putting the apostrophe where a vowel goes. Okay, don't, do not. We're usually putting it where an O goes, for instance, in those examples. Here, they're putting an apostrophe where a consonant would go. This is actually a different word, but they're trying to shorten it. Does anybody know, besides this table, does anybody know what this word would normally be if they weren't trying to shorten it? Let's listen to the sentence. My mind's as blank as a mind could be.
Ever.
Ever. What did they cut out with the apostrophe in there? V. Why? Why would they do that? Why bother? It doesn't sound right. There's something wrong with it. What sounds wrong? Patty?
Because ever has to
How do you know?
F.
Ever. How many does air have? Air. So why didn't they use ever?
Because then it would be 11.
Yes. This is an old trick to do with a V. It's a little sneaky, but it works. So in this case, it passes the test, but only because they've done this little trick right here, right? What if they had written ever and we had 11 here? It wouldn't be a true sonnet, okay? All right, so what I'd like for you guys to do now is, it's okay. I'd like for you guys to scroll to the one
Shakespeare. During class.
called Organizing Your Sonnet. Scroll to the one called Organizing Your Sonnet. Okay, so I want to show you something else that a poem does, a sonnet does. A sonnet very often has what's called a conflict or a problem and a resolution in it. When you think about the last one we just did, the writer's block, what was the problem for most of the poem?
You couldn't write.
He couldn't write. He couldn't think of what to say. Did it get resolved in the very end? How did it get resolved?
Because he wrote what he was thinking.
He wrote his sonnet, what he was thinking. The other thing it can also be is if it's not solved, it can also be a warning. I want you to write that in your note right now. So if it's not solved, it's maybe like a warning of the problem. Okay? A warning. So a solution or a warning.
I like more.
Are they what?
Like,
Oh no, they're reflections of the signal.
oh.
All right, so when we think about this, we often have to have a conflict and a solution. So this is actually a fourth rule we could put to our checklist. Okay? So I'm going to go back. You can stay there. I'm going to go back to the love sonnet of astronaut Arnold. When we look at this, do we have a conflict or a problem? And do we have a solution or a warning? What's going on up here? Let's look at the top part first. He's in love with an alien. Okay? And in fact, they have lots of problems within there. Okay? She's not from this planet. They know what? Ability to make kids. This one. We can't really have, this one right here, plastic surgery. To have children, we both need surgery. Okay? They don't have the same things from different worlds. Okay? And Maybe she doesn't have lips and he does. They can't really show affection the same way. Okay? So this is our conflict. He's in love with an alien. It's not really working out. Do we have a solution or warning down here?
Yes.
What is it? Which one?
But you should live daily and a desperate fear that you might.
Yeah, they haven't given in to yes, they're going to have surgery. But he's kind of warning us, hey, this is the problem. If you're going to have this alien, be aware that this could be the issue.
I don't think you're gonna have that issue in my
You
life.
probably won't. So I'm going to have you guys write in your own sonnet that you have seen. I know you're so excited about it. That you're going to be writing due Monday.
Oh.
We will have some time in class to work on this tomorrow. But today we're going to start planning. So the idea is to think about ways that you could have. We already know our first 3 rules. We already know it has to have 3 quatrains and a couplet. We know it has to have a certain rhyme scheme. We know it has to have 10 syllables per line. But the 4th one, thinking about having a conflict for the quatrains and a solution or a warning in your couplet, is the one we're going to start planning. So I'd like for you guys to look at your worksheet that I've given you that looks like this. All right. So this worksheet right here, and it's also on the haiku if you ever lose it. It's called your sonnet worksheet. Make sure you're on the side that looks like this, the one on the board. So I'm going to give you guys an example where we can figure out and plan how to have conflicts in our quatrains and then our resolutions. So think about the alien one. He had a big conflict, but it had 3 parts in it. So think about this. One example might be, flies are buzzing during my test. And we could divide that into a mini problem for each quatrain. The first problem is they buzz on my head and eyes. The second problem or second quatrain is maybe they start buzzing my nose and my mouth. Maybe the third problem, the third quatrain, is they buzz my ears and my hair. What do you think happens in the couplet? Boom! The problem is solved. A solution or a warning. We could say, make sure there's no flies in the room when you take your next test. Or you can kill it. Okay? So, boom, smack. I kill the annoying fly and finally can concentrate. So look at the next one. Another option. My sister's annoying me in a variety of ways. First quatrain or first section. She's whining and crying. My second section. She's pulling on my shirt and tugging me. My third section. She's drooling and crying and snotting all over me. And my 4th section, it's not the same as the flies. I go to my room and shut my door and get peace.
Kill your sister.
Don't kill your sister.
Don't do that.
Pull out a fly swatter. It's like,
Okay? You can have a variety of solutions for these. So look at your last one. I am being chased and terrified in a nightmare. You might say the first part, it's dark and alone. The second part, I hear weird sounds and I can't see. Then the third one is, a beast is coming. And how do I solve it in my couplet?
Wake up.
I have to wake up.
It's all like you.
So you have to think about a problem that you could make into 3 different parts and how to solve it or warn people against it. So I'm going to ask you right now at your desks to do the same thing. I'm going to ask you to come up with 3 problems. Start with one first. Come up with your problem. How could you divide it into 3 pieces? And how could you solve or warn it? When you're done with this one, okay, now that we have planned our 1, our 2, our 3 different ideas, each with 3 parts and a solution or a warning, you're going to get up and you're going to find 3 people around the room to share with. You may share a different one each time. You may share the same one that you want to do each time. You might share these 2 but not this one and repeat one. As long as you share with 3 different people, it doesn't matter. If somebody has an idea that you like, make a little note on your page as you go around so that you could do something. Because one person can write a poem about the sister that they hate, and the other person can write a poem about the sister they hate, and they can be 2 totally different sonnets. Okay? So it's okay if we have similar ideas. So you're going to hand up, stand up, pair up, 3 different people.